Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing well. As you can tell by the title, this is a video about VCE and things I basically wish I knew before going in. It's not like it's a deal breaker if you don't know these things before doing 1, 2s or 3, 4s, but it's just some things I wish I considered and I wish someone had told me, and I think they can be really helpful. So I just wrote them all down on my laptop, so I might be looking across there sometimes. Okay, so my first piece of advice is before you decide on your 3, 4s, which are like so important, you obviously have to know what they're like and kind of get a feel for them before you go in, right? Don't be afraid to experiment in year 10 and 11. Basically, year 10 and 11 are 2 years where you can do whatever you want. Like anything you find interesting, you should definitely put it down, even if it's only for 1 semester, like chemistry, methods, that kind of thing. I personally think it's so important to try out any subjects you're interested in. VCE can be a bit of a scam when it comes to content. Like what you think it will be about might not be what it actually is, and how the content is examined could also be really different. Some 1, 2s are really different to the 3, 4. I think bio's like that, and psych is like that as well. So you should definitely also ask students who have already done the 3, 4. Yeah, so I just want to insert a bit of a personal anecdote in here, but when I was in year 11, I took echo and chemistry. At this time, I still thought I could be a doctor, so I took chemistry as a prereq for Chem 3, 4, which is also a prereq for like science, biomed or med or whatever. But now that I think about it, I want to laugh at myself. I realized very quickly into both economics and chemistry that I was not interested in these subjects whatsoever. So like these had nothing to do really with teachers, well, a bit to do with the teachers, but it was just basically me realizing that I had like no real interest in these 2 subjects. And what I should have done is instantly drop them in semester 2 or as soon as possible and go try out subjects that would have been better for me and not dive into a random 3, 4 in year 12. I did try to get into the psych 1, 2 class, but there were no spots available. I could have done a different English because I was still on the fence about mainstream or lit, except I didn't, and I just left them both as bludgers. Yeah, year 11 me thought she was really cool for having echo and chem as a bludge, but let me tell you right now, it was such a waste of time. So like I wasted basically 2 second semesters, which is a whole year, when I could have been trying out other subjects that I would have been better at. I don't regret my entire VC experience, but honestly, if I could change anything about it, I would have just tried more subjects out. And even if I didn't end up sticking with them, it would have just been a fun experience, and you get to know more people in other classes as well. Another tip for choosing subjects is to see which teachers are teaching. So the teacher is so important. For some of my subjects, we only have 1 teacher teaching, and if I had known what the quality or what the standard was like in year 12, I would never have chosen that subject, no matter how much I loved it, because a bad teacher can really ruin a subject that you're really into, and like conversely, in the same way, a really good teacher can also make you really like a subject that you didn't think you had that much of an interest for. If you're on the fence about 2 subjects, I really suggest taking a look at who's teaching and also talk to students of those teachers. Really, the most valuable thing is just talking to other people as well about their experiences. My next sort of piece of advice, or not really, like just something I should have prepared myself more thoroughly for, was probably my mental health. I feel like I don't really think about this too much, especially not in year 12. Like I didn't think about how year 12 would impact my mental health at all. But I just want to say it's really important to be mentally prepared. Not everyone will feel this way, but for me personally, looking back now, I realized I think I was really affected by the stress and pressure that I put on myself. So it wasn't really external pressure, although that was kind of a factor. It was more like me pressuring myself all the time and holding myself to an impossibly high standard. Just speaking from my own personal experience and from like a few of my friends' experiences, there will be breakdowns. Like I cried so much in year 12. It was over like the stupidest things as well. Like they wouldn't necessarily be about like grades or like a really bad sacs score. It's just small conflicts that would have otherwise been nothing. It really hit me hard. A lot of things that happened in the year wasn't even VCE related stuff, but school and all the work and stuff just kind of exacerbated what was going on in my life. Generally, I was pretty lucky to have supportive family and friends. I'm really grateful for that. Even if they weren't perfect, they would still really care about my well-being, and they would try to help in any way they could, which is all I can really ask for. So long story short, just prepare yourself and know that it's okay if you have some really tough times, and don't feel bad about relying on your friends and family to get you through. If you have to rant or you have to just like cry it out or something, yeah, don't feel bad about that. My next bit of advice is just about VCE in general. During VCE, if you feel like you're struggling in a 34, if you're really struggling with the content, I strongly suggest you going to your teacher, either your teacher that is teaching your class, or if you feel like that teacher is not helping you, you could go to a teacher in that same faculty or a teacher that teaches the same subject if that applies. Don't be afraid to ask for more feedback. Don't be afraid to send them stuff. Don't be afraid to like ask them questions on email. Also, don't be afraid to pressure them, because it's literally their job to be there for you. Like, obviously not unreasonably so, but they have an obligation to you to provide you with the resources you need, and if they're not doing that, then you need to get them to step up. I had a teacher that would give our sacs back like a day or two before our next sac. So we would do a sac, then wait 2 or 3 months in suspense for our sac, and then 1 or 2 days before he would be like handing them out at recess or lunch, and then the next day we were expected to like get all the feedback from our sac and then apply that somehow in our next sac. I definitely think that if this is a really big problem for you guys, you should definitely complain, or at least talk to some other teachers and figure out if there's anything that can be done about it. And talking about sacs are obviously a really big deal throughout the year, and people were really out here crying over sacs. Sometimes I was people. In my opinion, sacs are really important, but they're not as important as you think. Ultimately, the final exam is the most important, it has the highest weighting, and each individual sac will only be like a small percentage of your actual overall mark, like study score. Where sacs do matter though is in sort of giving you confidence throughout the year to keep going, and sort of showing you if you're going down the right path, or sort of also acting as a reminder that you need to be studying more or putting in more effort. So I kind of saw my sacs as like little progress checks. Understanding the sac system really well and seeing how it all contributes to your final mark is really important. I guess the moral of the story is don't let sacs get you too down, but put effort into them still, because continuous effort throughout the year is a lot better than a final massive cram sesh at the end of the year. This is just like a random opinion that I have, but personally, although doing an accelerated subject is really good, like you get 1 or 2 subjects smashed out in year 11, I personally think that students still do the best in year 12, because I feel like by this stage in year 12 you basically have the sum total of your 12 years of schooling all combined into like one brain. And this might not apply to everyone, but personally this is how I felt. I felt like in year 12 I was able to use the study skills that I learned the best of my ability, and also I learned a lot of like tips and tricks from the previous years, and I learned from my mistakes. One really big thing I learned in year 11 was to know the study design inside out. Like, you need to be reading that every single day. Whenever you learn something new in class, you need to ask yourself, where does this fit into the study design? Like, is this under a dot point? Like, is this something I need to know for the exam? And if you don't know, you can ask your teacher. I cannot stress enough how important study design is. It really freaked me over in year 11 because I didn't know any of it, and we got taught basically all the wrong things. I had to relearn so much in year 11 because of that. But yeah, know your study design inside out. Also, another small thing, if your teacher is really bad, like they don't teach, you don't understand them, they're not giving you anything valuable, don't feel bad about just tuning them out and doing your own work in class. If you have a tutor or something, feel free to do that work in class. Just don't disrupt the class, because other people are trying to learn, and not everyone is fortunate enough to have like tutoring or go to extra classes or something like that. Of course, if you can, like maybe bring it up with your other friends and see if they're feeling the same way, and if they're not taking anything from class as well. But yeah, don't feel guilty about working at your own pace in classes and stuff like that, or working through the textbook. This is more like what I would say to myself if I could go back and slap my year 12 self in the face. I want to say, don't waste your study periods. They are so short. Why are you watching a freaking 20-minute long YouTube video when you only have a 50-minute study period? I actually hate myself. Like, when I think about all the time I wasted, yeah. The next section I'll be talking about is like extracurriculars, or like things outside of school. Even though things like extracurriculars, having a job and all of that, it's outside of school, it still makes a big impact on your academics and like how you'll organize study time and stuff like that. So there's lots of different opinions. I like see these posts on VCE discussion space all the time. The most common question people ask is like, should I keep working throughout year 12? How do I handle a relationship in year 12? I don't have an answer for that, by the way. Should I keep doing all my extracurriculars, or should I drop some? Should I only have 1 or 2? The short answer would be only take on what you can handle. The long answer is I know a lot of people who are good at doing a lot of things and handling a lot of things on their plate, But I think everyone has their limit, and they might not realize what their limit is until they start doing VCE. And people who might have handled lots of extracurriculars and extra stuff outside of school before VCE might have handled it fine, but then the workload in year 12, depending on how many 3-4 subjects you have, could be really overwhelming and a big shock. For me personally, I think I only had 1 or 2 extracurriculars and they weren't very time consuming at all. My personal advice is to keep a few extracurriculars if you are doing them, maybe like 1 or 2, just to give you something else to focus on besides academics, because that can be really draining, sometimes even counterproductive. So like how I looked at it was, if you have nothing else going on in year 12, the urge to like slack off and sort of just procrastinate your schoolwork is a lot stronger. But if you have multiple things scheduled throughout the week, it kind of forces you to work your study time around work or sports or something like that. Basically just pushes you to use your time wisely rather than unstructured free time after school. It probably isn't that relevant, but I just thought I would include it. So basically, this entire section can be summarized in one sentence. Year 12 is not the year for drama. Also, try not to get stressed about really big events like formal or like arranging dates, getting table, things like that. All those events, in my opinion, are for like you to relax, for year 12s to relax, enjoy themselves and have a bit of fun and kind of take a break from the like constant stress of school and academics. So at the point where planning those events or like getting ready for those events becomes like stressful and more negative than positive, that's when you should try to like take a step back. I don't know if this is even helpful or like relevant, but yeah. And of course there's no pressure, or if you don't want to participate in things like socials or formals, it's by no means like a super special evening that like can't be missed. The reason I enjoyed going was because of my friends. I know it kind of sucks right now because 2020's year 12s didn't get any of that fun stuff that year 12s honestly really deserve after all their hard work, but I hope 2021 is a better year for school in general, and I hope that people get to enjoy their high school life while they still can. Finally, we have a section that's about after VCE, so I kind of thought of this because it relates a bit to my situation. But basically I just want to say that the subjects you do don't have to line up with your future career or like even what you want to study in uni. Like I mentioned before, subject selection has a lot to do with your teacher and VCE subjects, like the content of VCE subjects. I guess I can best illustrate this through an example. So when I was doing VCE, I really wanted to be a lawyer and I thought that law was the way to go, so obviously I picked legal studies. And although I don't exactly regret doing legal studies, there were a lot of things about the subject and that legal studies experience that I didn't enjoy. Looking back now, I probably wouldn't have picked it again, but I would have still chosen it in uni as one of my subjects or as a major. I guess my point is to choose subjects that you can excel in and that you're interested in, rather than subjects that will sort of lead you along a certain path, because who knows, like maybe you'll find a really niche interest or find something else you didn't think you would enjoy or be good at. So it's really important to explore and sort of really take a good look at what's out there and go for it. So these were just random pieces of advice, different things that I feel like I learned from VCE and I want to tell my other self. All I really want to do is just sort of help other VCE students in any way possible to have like the best experience they can. There's a lot of advice out there, so take everything I say with a grain of salt, because what worked for me probably won't work for every single person out there. A lot of like your high school life and in the future is just about trial and error. So going through and learning things the hard way, like I did, isn't so bad either. Let me know what you think down below in the comments. Thank you so much for watching and I hope you enjoyed this video. Bye!